You got into the safety business because you wanted to protect people, but somewhere along the way, the job started controlling your time, your schedule, your priorities, even your income potential. What if the expertise you've built over the years in the field can give you something more? More freedom, more control, more ownership of your future. I'm Sheldon Primus, the author of 7 Steps to Starting a Profitable Safety Consulting Business and the host of the Safety Consultant Podcast, with more than 350 episodes helping safety professionals become consultants and grow their career. Consulting changed my life. In fact, I'm a full-time RVer, and one consulting contract paid for my home I live in today. Now, I help safety professionals build their own consulting practice through bi-weekly coaching calls, accountability, and personal guidance. But this program isn't for everyone. Start with the Consultant Readiness Audit at sheldon.coach.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete Signal Transmission Trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all 3 books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.
Hi, this is Jim from Safety Wars. Before we start the program, I want to make sure everyone understands that we often talk about OSHA and EPA citations, along with some other regulatory actions from other agencies, legal cases, and criminal activity. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Proposed fines are exactly that, and they are often litigated, reduced, or vacated. We use available public records, news accounts, and press releases. We cannot warranty or guarantee the details of any of the stories we share, since we are not directly involved with these stories, at least not most of the time. Enjoy the show.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
Hello, it's me, and yes, I forgot my hat. So, oh well. How's everybody doing out there? How's everybody enjoying? We could call it that, the government shutdown. You know, it's like this. Right? It's like this. The biggest danger from for the government shutdown, right? The biggest danger is here. That people are going to realize that they're going to do okay most of the time without federal government. Now, there's a flip side to that. The federal government, and we found this out this year with all the cuts and things of that nature. The federal government also does a lot of stuff that we don't even know about. In the background, who would have never known? With statistics, we knew here what the statistics were, where we had people out there saying, well, here on this show, we question the statistics. Well, what do you mean? We question the statistics. Are the statistics necessary? Are they accurate? And everything else that goes on. I tell you what, we we offended a lot of people there, but we ask questions. Sometimes the questions are uncomfortable, and sometimes people go out there and they're, they get a little bit upset. That's okay. When do you ever learn anything through agreement? Otherwise, you have what's called an echo chamber. When everybody agrees and everybody agrees about everything, you have an echo chamber. And when you have an echo chamber, that's where you run into issues here. So, how's it impacting OSHA right now? Right? I had something ready to go. Let's look. No, I lost it here, right? So, this is from the AS from Literalert.com news analysis, right? The impact of federal government shutdown on OSHA. Right, and this was written yesterday, right? In preparation of a government shutdown, the Department of Labor developed an here it is. Plan for the continuation for, this is what it was. Yep, sorry about that, folks. Let me do a screen share here. Let's increase the size with that. And we're not going through all 73 pages. Let's see what we got here. The Department of Labor is committed to fostering, promoting, and developing the welfare of the wage earners, job seekers, and retirees in the United States, improving work conditions and everything else. So here we have total number of agency employees expected to be on board before implementation, 12,916. Right, and this is what they have. The number of employees to be retained, right, presidential appointee not subject to furlough was 17. Compensation is financed by a resource other than annual appropriations, 564. Necessary to perform activities, expressly authorized for law, 0. Necessary to perform activities necessarily implied by law, 1,383, and necessary to protect life and property, 1177. So that's a lot less. Sort of looking less than 3,000 people, down from 12,000. But the thing is, everyone's going to get paid. Eventually, everyone's going to get paid. Brief summary of significant agency activities. The department's primary activities are elapsed in appropriations generally will include work for agencies funded by resources other than annual appropriations, including the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, USMCA, and the American Rescue Plan, ARPA, the provision of benefits to workers under entitlement programs for protection of life and property in cases of imminent threat, and activities authorized to continue by necessary implication to carry out those functions, and other accepted activities consistent with OMB and Department of Justice guidelines. So, for example, let's give some examples. Agencies will respond to imminent threats through human life, child labor investigations, or process disaster dislocated grant applications. Right, statutory above ground or underground mine investigations will continue, as well as inspections of targeted mines and specific hazards, and workplace inspections in high-hazard industries. Relevant agencies will pursue and address legal cases or investigations in jeopardy of being lost due to a statute of limitations, or as otherwise ordered by the court. DOL will continue to provide support for the payment of benefits, which funding has not lapsed, including Black Lung, energy employees, occupational illness and compensation program, Longshore and Harbor Workers Compensation Act, War Hazards Compensation Act, and trade adjustment assistance. DOL will provide support to the states and other federal agencies for the administration and payment of unemployment benefits. Job Corps centers are operated under contracts that are funded by appropriations available on a program year as opposed to fiscal year basis. That means January to December rather than October to September 30th. According to Job Corps Centers, housing students will remain in operation while funds remain available. Hopefully it won't go that long. A brief summary, right? And we got into that on one of my projects today. Right? The following vacancy agencies will be completely cease operations other than orderly shutdown. Bureau of Labor Statistics, BLS. Again, those statistics are important for the financial outlook for the country, and for the company, for the country. So that's one, right? Veterans Employment and Training Service, Office of Federal Contract Compliance Programs, Office of Disability Employment Policy, Women's Bureau, Office of Administrative Law Judges, Administrative Review Board, Benefits Review Board, and Employees Compensation Appeals Board. One or more furloughed employees in these agencies may be accepted on an intermittent basis as the needs arise during a lapse in appropriations, right? And so, they may have a skeleton crew there going to figure things out. Any emergencies or the proverbial fires to put out there. Unless accepted or exempt agencies' technical assistance. This is what I've heard. The technical assistance, compliance assistance, regulatory policy, research advisories, responding to inquiries, most oversight, hearing preparation, and cooperative activities will cease. DOL will not process foreign labor certifications or new TAA determinations. So this is what I'm going to say to you folks. Safety FM has a boatload of people here, podcasters, other people, referrals, everything else. If you need technical assistance, now's the time, your perfect time, to call 845-269-5772 or email me at jim@safetywars.com. Why? We're implementing and this is, I'll roll it out right here, Ask the Safety Guy hour. So you could go, give me a call. I will give you 1 hour of my time, not for free, but I will give you 1 hour of my time and I will answer your safety questions. All right, on that. Because right now, technical assistance and everything, you may not get that there at OSHA. So give me a call. I'll give you technical assistance. 845-269-5772 with that. If I don't know the answer, I'll get you the answer. How's that? But chances are I know the answer to most questions here, or I know somebody who does. Right? And some caveats. It's going to take time. You can't just pull the plug on this stuff. So here we have more specific things. Here. OSHA. Right, so we have a table. Necessary to protect life and property for OSHA, they figured 280 people. Necessary to perform activities necessary implied by law, 179. Full-time during a lapse comes out to 460. Right? Now, full-time employees not subject to furlough, that's one person. So my question, again, I'm going to say this. With all of this stuff. And let's scroll down here to OSHA if they have that. The greatest hazard for the federal government here is that people are going to realize that they don't need them. And they're going to say, or they're going to believe that they don't need them. That's the biggest hazard. But it's also biggest benefit, because now what we're going to have are politicians saying, well, guess what? You made it through now 1 day without the federal government. Now, let's see if we can do 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 6. Anybody going for 6? You're going to have that there. So that's a real danger here. Now, but the other thing is this, often that's short-sighted. Well, we don't need that. What do you need that for? Blah, blah, blah. Well, you may not need it, but someone else may need it. Or, like with the statistics that the government relies on, they're not going to be they're not going to be collected. So the Bureau of Labor Statistics, unemployment rates, and I'm sure many other ones. But, I know about safety. I know about environmental stuff. I'm not going to go outside of what I know on this one. And what right, everybody else could do that. I'm going to tell you how it's going to be with this. MSHA, right? Right, so what they're doing is there's 1,590 employees. Total number of agency employees, 879 during a lapse. So they're still going to have this here. So they're going to have roughly 879 employees on payroll still, but actually out there doing their job with that. So oftentimes, so they're saying here, right, this is OSHA, 460 people. Here, right, so, and they give categories, right, A through F. Necessary, right, and so these are the categories here. So, A, not subject to furlough, right? So, the Assistant Secretary for Occupational Safety and Health is presidentially appointed, Senate confirmed, and not subject to furlough. So we have F, necessary to protect life and property here, written here. So we have the number 1, inspection of imminent danger situations under Section 13 of the OSHA Act. Investigation of workplace fatalities, F. Investigation of safety and health complaints or other information, including reporting to receiving police, fire departments, or other first responders. Media sources or employers establishing that employees are potentially exposed, so imminent danger sort of stuff. They're not being furloughed. Review of whistleblower complaints, that's D. What is D? Necessary to perform duties, so those not being furloughed. Follow-up inspections of establishments and high-gravity serious violations is F. That's necessary. Enforcement activities needed to meet agency's 6-month statutory deadlines. D, they're not being furloughed. Orderly shutdown activities. D, not being furloughed. A minimum number of employees may be necessary to provide support for emergency operations as noted above. D, right? Those are necessary. So what will lapse? 1, compliance assistance. 2, outreach programs. 3, training classes. 4, technical assistance. 5, rulemaking, including deregulation efforts. 6, whistleblower protection activities not described above. And 7, financial or other administrative efforts. Brief summary of any change in activities if lapse is prolonged. The absence of IT operations and maintenance activity on the agency's injury tracking application is in a prolonged lapse of imperil the schedule of collecting data. So basically, a lot of, maybe it'll be impacted, but not so much. Not so much. And for MSHA, what do we have here? I don't know what any of this stuff means, but it looks like they're going to be doing some stuff. But here's what's going to cease during a lapse. Compliance assistant, minor training activities, Part 100 conferences, health and safety and education programs, collection of civil monetary penalties for violations of the Mine Act, approval and certification of underground mine equipment. All contracts will be issued a stop work order. Administration of the state grants program, and all MSHA administrative and management services will be discontinued, including those regular activities supporting the agency's budget process, property management, records management, ethics issues, employees training, and everything else. There will no be change in activities if the lapse is prolonged. Right? So that's how that's being impacted on there. Let's go to commercial break, and we'll come right on back to you on this.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete signal transmission trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all 3 books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.
This is gonna blow your mind. There's a new daytime talk show on your local cable access station. What happens when safety, scandal, and heartbreak collide? Welcome to Safety Wars, the talk show. Today's episode is a doozy. Imagine confronting your unsafe supervisor who just happens to be your ex-wife's new hubby. Talk about a powder keg. But wait, there's more. We've got an exclusive interview with a corporate exec who's taken out life insurance policies on his riskiest workers, hoping to cash in on a deadly mishap. Yup, you heard that right. It's a real-life plot twist you can't make up. Tune in as Jim Posel, CSP, our very own Jerry Springer of safety, dives deep into this explosive confrontation. Sparks will fly and secrets will be exposed. Catch the full episode on Safety Wars on YouTube and your favorite podcast platform. Don't miss out on the drama that could save your life. Like and share now, and stay safe, folks.
OSHA recordables, catastrophic losses, environmental disasters. You want answers? So do I. This is Jim Posel with Safety Wars.
That's my daddy!
Yes, Jessica, I am your father. So, what else is going on here? We covered the OSHA and Department of Labor contingency plan. Let's talk about the EPA contingency plan here during the shutdown. Because as you can see, you're gonna hear rhetoric, if you haven't already. Well, worker protection, blah, blah, blah. Guess what? They have it on there. They're good, right? I'm sure long term, it's going to be stressful. If this goes, a lot of times these things are not, what's the word I'm looking for? Payroll will be behind for the federal government. They'll eventually get it done. But as I remember from the last time this happened was 35 days. And guess what? People started getting pissed. Needless to say, people started getting pissed, and federal workers are no different than anybody else out there. Often they're living from paycheck to paycheck. They may not be getting the best salary. Look at the National Park Service and all the controversies we've had over the last year with that, where there's been a backlash against wokeism by the federal government. I don't think that's a controversial statement on there. And people have been losing their jobs. So you had that one person in the national park. Hopefully she's doing fine. Who, the bat researcher that ended up losing her job over some stuff. Guess what? Now, not too many jobs. So that didn't pay that well. When you looked into it, not too many bat research jobs in private industry. So now you have people who are making less than $50,000 a year for an agency like that. Now, guess what? A lot of them were a lot less. I mean, they're making pittance, taking other jobs to help and make ends meet, or it was a situation where one spouse is the breadwinner and the other one works part-time. And they're working for benefits, maybe. Well, guess what? Now there's an issue. Here, they're furloughed. They don't have a lot of money. They're living paycheck to paycheck. Well, guess what? If It's just the way it is. This is what they're thinking. I'm not making money, so guess what? I'm not going to put maximum effort into doing this. Why would that be, something, no, in your imagination, right here? Not, you don't need much of an imagination to realize that that's an issue here with this. So here we have EPA, right? Lapse plan summary overview. Estimated time required to complete a shutdown activity, 4 hours. Total number of agency employees expected to be on board before implementation. That's as of yesterday, 15,166. So this is more or less the same format. Looks different, but it's the same. Compensation is financed by resource other than annual appropriation, 828. Necessary to perform activities authorized by law, 24. Necessary to perform activities implied by law, 284. Necessary to discharge the president's constitutional duties and powers, 1. That's Lee Zeldin. Necessary to protect life and property, 597. Right? Several significant activities that will continue. I mean, this is a pretty extensive thing. Protection of EPA land, law enforcement and criminal investigations, emergency and disaster assistance, Superfund response work, where failure to maintain the operations would pose an imminent threat to human life. Sites are evaluated at the time of the shutdown. Maintenance of laboratory instrumentation, controlled environments, lab animals, etc. Emergency response, legal counseling, litigation, law enforcement activities as required. All obligation actions necessary to support accepted and exempted activities. Exempted activities funded by unexpired appropriations. Exempted activities funded by FIFRA and PREA and fees. Exempted activities funded by the Superfund tax. Make timely payments to contractor and grantees where available funds were or are obligated for the contract or grantor either. The employees necessary to making such payments are expected for that purpose because, for example, failing to make a payment would prevent or significantly damage the agency's execution of a funded operation and or would imminently threaten the safety of human life. I'm sorry, I didn't put this on share. Right? Travel associated, right, with this, right, blah, 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 going on and on. The planners for the fiscal year 2027 President's budget, full support of mission-critical IT systems, full support of EPA.gov/lapse for communicating with furloughed employees. Okay, so that's what's not going to cease. What will cease? Issuance of new grants and interagency agreements, unless necessary for accepted or exempted activities, distributing of payroll beyond the last or full partial pay period for non-exempted employees. Right? That's exempted from overtime, non-exempted from overtime, I guess. That would mean your hourly employees. Update of the EPA website, or salaried, right? EPA website and other communication activities are relevant to accepted or exempted activities. Conducting research and publication of research results unless necessary for exempted or accepted activities. Certain Superfund activities where there is no imminent threat to human health and property unless exempted. Civil enforcement inspections unless necessary for accepted or exempted. Issuance of permits and approvals of pending state requests, right, on things. So that's basically what it is. So what is my point? Again, and they have things in here, right? Some definitions. My point, if things run pretty smooth during the shutdown or furlough, what's the politician going to say? Well, we did pretty good. This is a postal prediction here. I make so many freaking predictions. I don't share them here because I'm going to sound like the other wars guy out there. I'm going to start sounding like InfoWars. And maybe, I understand negative lens, negative connotation. But when they make a million predictions, unfortunately, many of them come true. But the prediction I'm going to make is, watch. Why do we have these programs? They're right. They're not essential. We do pretty good without them. Why do we need them? And then there's going to be questioning. And as we know, people in our society do not like questioning nowadays. Question this. You're this. You're that. And this has been going on since the 1980s here. For people like me, been going on since the 1980s with things. Well, why are we doing this? Well, you're this, you're that, you're a bad person, bad word, bad person, bad word. And then it goes the other way, right? Then you name call them back and forth, right? So my son is playing football now for his middle school. And he says, Dad, they're doing a lot of trash talk. And I said, well, what the hell do you expect? It's football. Of course they're going to give you trash talk. But I said to him, and he told me some of the words that I said, let me explain it to you. Some people could say those words, nothing happens to them. You say those words, those same people who said that were saying the words first are going to go and complain and cry to other people about you. So I tell you what, don't do it. Don't fall trap to it. Become a stoicist. But a former mentor of mine, you've all heard of him. We won't go into names. Otherwise, you will call me names. Right? He said, he lamented back in 2004, I believe it was. He spoke in front of CPAC, Conservative Political Action Conference, that his greatest fear is that we're moving away from debate and discussion, and we are moving toward treating politics as sport. And I think that was a pretty good observation back then. Because right now, what are we seeing? Politics as sport. Have we improved things in this country since the mid-2000s? We can make that argument mid-1980s, mid-1970s, mid-1960s. Some would say the Camelot period ended in this country in November 1963 with the assassination of John Kennedy. Have we made significant progress into solving our problems, or have we created more problems than what we solved? And is it because of this politics as sport? This is, Republicans good, Democrats bad. And then, right, and it goes right on the other one. Democrats bad, Republicans good. Democrats bad, Republicans good. Then Democrats good, Republicans bad. And then now you have the population where everything is bad. Buckle up, safety warriors. We're headed for a pretty rough ride here.
From the front lines of the safety war, it's Safety Wars, with your host, Jim Posel on Safety FM. Get ready to face the harsh reality.
Is your safety training old, stale, and hackneyed? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call Jim Posel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces.
Safety Wars is streaming now.
SafetyFM.com.
So today I did something. I had a solemn duty, I felt, today. We heard of him. If I haven't mentioned his name, I will. You've heard some of the stories that I've shared over the years. close to 500 programs here. Recently, a very dear friend of mine passed away. He had a illness, and we're going to be having a moment of silence here. We're going to be playing some music. We generated our own song on him, about him. And then we're also going to talk about another person today, my Uncle Ziggy. Now, what Uncle Ziggy and Zdzislaw, Ziggy Kaminski, Zdzislaw Gabryszewski, they had in common was that their birthdays were both on October 1st. Both of them are Polish. We're Polish. And both of them are buried within 300 feet of each other at Our Lady of Czestochowa Cemetery over in Bucks County, which I visited today. Bucks County, Pennsylvania. I don't know the exact town. I happen to be in the neighborhood. So I decided to take some lunch and visit both graves today and pay my respects. And both of them had a really significant impact on my life. So let's talk about Uncle Ziggy. Uncle Ziggy we spoke about on February 21st, I believe it was 2021. Here, might have been 2022, with Imogene Salva. So Uncle Ziggy, interesting character. Uncle Ziggy went, right, so as everyone here knows, if you're a longtime listener, my mother's family, without my grandfather, was expatriated from Poland in February of 1939 when the Russians invaded Poland, because Russia has always had the same problem, often the demographic issues. Same issue here. That's why we allowed mass immigration from Europe and other places at the end of the 1900s and into the 20th century. So what their strategy was, and it's still the same, one of the things that they did in the current Ukraine war, Russia now, is that they removed people from countries that they conquered, countries that they invaded, and they are moving them into Russia to Russify them. And my mother's family got involved with that. And when the Russians came knocking on the door, they said, look, we're looking for your names not on the list. He said, I tell you what, it's my brother's family, and I'm going to go with them to watch out for them. So what ended up happening was he went with them to the what were concentration camps. They called them refugee camps. They called them re-education camps. They called them a lot of things, but they were concentration camps, and we're using the dictionary definition of concentration camp. And if you don't know what the dictionary definition is, you could go and you could look that up for yourself. And it's not only what happened in Germany with the Jews. It happens all over when fascists and when communists do things. They put people into concentration camps, and they often commit genocide. In effect, different ways. Germans actively killing people. Russians actively starving people and withholding medical treatment, using them as slave labor, both right with that as slave labor. Way it is. With the Jews, obviously more horrific, more people, and everything. I'm not just saying one was worse than the other, because from the context of the people going through it, things were pretty much the same. It's only us that has the luxury of hindsight. Us that have the luxury of hindsight to evaluate this stuff. And then we have people making judgments here. And some of them are warranted, some are not. But I digress. Because the last time I said concentration camp on this show, people went out and lambasted me. Well, that wasn't as I was, blah, blah. And I said, here's the Oxford definition of it. And then I said, your argument is not with Jimmy, it's with the dictionary. So what ended up happening was he ended up going into there with my mother and her family. 15 people were eventually killed by various things. Disease, guards, and you name it. Uncle Ziggy was sent to another camp with only men in it. One was women and children, and they had men. This is up by Archangel, Russia, to manage the forests and build things and whatever to support the war effort as slave labor. Eventually, they were reunited, and when they made it to Persia, Tehran, they ended up going. What happened was and this also happened in Russia with Imogen Salva's family, was that the men were drafted into the Polish Second Corps under the command of General Anders, a Polish commander in exile in Great Britain at the time, in England. My mother did not see him again, and this is about 1943, did not see him again until they met again in the United States with that. And we have some nice family photos. No, I didn't really have time to find them, but nice family photos of him in North Africa, in Egypt, pyramids. Ended up, he fought in the Battle of Monte Cassino, which is famous battle for the Polish Second Corps. He had been a explosive expert, as he described it, right during the war. But I think everybody was an explosives expert. But I'll take him on his word. And eventually, there he developed, had a family, had a thriving real estate business. He worked in New York City, doing various things. Where the building where the original computer for the stock exchange was, that was one of his. He worked there. He wasn't a trader or anything like that, but he did work there, and enjoyed a very long retirement there, and where he had a thriving insurance business. Where if you were in Hudson County and you needed life insurance, and you were in the Polish community from about the 1960s to the early 1990s, guess what? You got your policy through Uncle Ziggy. Way it was. And I still, every once in a while, up until recently, you were Ziggy's nephew, weren't you? Yeah, I was Ziggy's nephew. Right, blah, blah, blah. They remember me from the Polish National, Polish National Alliance events from when I was very young with my parents and the, pardon me, and the other things. So, great guy. But if it were not for him looking after my mother's family, right, and all those people when he was able to, chances are I wouldn't even be here. So, with that, and he passed away in 2002, and rest in peace, Ziggy. The second person that we're going to talk about is, again, another Polish person. He passed away a couple of months back from ALS, Zdzislaw Gabryszewski. If it weren't for Zdzislaw, and he was a listener here, if it weren't for Zdzislaw, I would not be here doing this for you. So how did I meet Zdzislaw? It was 2005. I was working at the Bayway Refinery, and he needed some help, and I was working for a contractor there, and he needed some support work for what he was doing, some work, and he knew I knew a lot about lead-based paint, and so what he did was he said, okay, well, I need some help here. Can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do this? I said, yeah, certainly, and we developed a relationship, and he said, oh, you're Polish? I said, yeah, my mom is from Poland. Father from the family from most immediately was from Germany, but later on I found out that both sides of the family came from the same part of Poland way back when, according to thank you to the DNA analysis, 23andMe and Ancestry.com. But anyway, we go and again, the Polish people try to stick together. Polish community does not like the money going outside the Polish community, and if they can help it. right? Even for the second and third generation Poles. And a couple of years later, one of the companies he was affiliated with had a catastrophic incident. Made the Polish news, believe it or not. We got a phone call from my cousins in Poland, and they said, "Did you hear about blah, 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 blah?" And my mother said, "Yes, we have heard about it, and Jimmy is one of the investigators on it." So I had helped him and that organization go through and manage a situation, and I started working for them. And then they had another situation come up, and they needed a full-time safety person. So Zdzislaw said, "Hey, I know somebody. Hey, let's give Jimmy a call." You say, "Hey, Jimmy, hey, Zdzislaw, hey, would you like to come over here? We'll have lunch. Now come on over to my office. I'll show you around. We'll have some lunch. What do you think?" I said, "Yeah, certainly." I went over, and that was December 16th, 2009. 2008? No, 2008. 2008. How do I remember that? My mom's birthday, December 16th. And we helped with that situation also. Nobody got hurt or anything like that. It was just more of an administrative type thing there. And I stayed there until 2019. What he said was, "Jimmy, you got to go and you have to you're good, but there's much you must learn." I said, "Okay." And he said, "Well, you have to go for education." I said, "Okay." So he made sure I had already had a master's degree. I had one credential then, and he made sure that and when I was running for office, he supported me, made donations, and got the Polish community behind me in a lot of ways in that area. And what he ended up doing was made sure I got my credentials, made sure I got the ASV, made sure I got the CSV, made sure I got the CHMM. Because again, I'm working with him I was one of his subcontractors, but it worked out for him better to have somebody with better credentials than the people we were working with. Right? Eventually, and I told the story other times, all of a sudden they don't want you around anymore when you have more credentials than they do. And one of their arguments was, none of the contractors, and you especially, you don't have credentials. We know more than you. Then all of a sudden, you have more credentials than them, and then, with that. But Zdzislaw was probably the most loyal person that you've ever met. And you're going to say, "Well, you're talking about him more than your uncle." Yeah, because I had a close relationship with Zdzislaw. So we had Ziggy that made sure that I'm here, right, with him looking after my mother and grandmother and everything as they were able to. And there was some interaction between camps then, too. It's not like they had guards around the camp that were worried about getting people escaping in the Arctic Circle, because if you escaped, you're going to freeze to death, right? So, but what ended up happening was with Zdzislaw, I became friends with most of his family. He went through a couple of rough patches and everything else. And I'm going to miss him. And happy birthday in heaven to both Uncle Ziggy and Zdzislaw there. And he was I don't know what to tell you. He was a person that was unique. Oh, you're going to say, well, okay, well, what else? Well, I gave one of the eulogies at his wake, and I'll share that at another time, probably. But everybody commented on his driving. He drove rough, and I mentioned this after my eulogy. I said, "No, I forgot one thing. When Castro was visiting Poland in the 1960s, and they had a conscription in Poland in the 1960s, there was one man that the Polish government trusted to drive Castro around safely. That was Zdzislaw Gabryszewski. He was Castro's driver right there. So in honor of both Zdzislaw and Uncle Ziggy, we're going to play right now. We're going to start out with a song that we had prepared for Zdzislaw. His family found it very comforting. And we're going to share that for you right now. Give me a second here. Okay, here we go.
From Wonky's fields to Jersey Shore, a young man walked through freedom's door. With steady hands and spirit strong, he built a life where hearts belong. Met his joy and love, sweetest sound. Together made their sacred ground. 51 years of laughter and grace, a family's love, his proudest place. A man of his word, a heart made of gold, a story of courage, humble and bold. A father, a friend, a beacon, a guide. Zdzislaw lives on in the love by his side. At Bayway's gates through steel and flame, he earned respect, he carved his name. A leader strong with hands that heal, a craftsman proud with iron and steel. His laughter roared, his wisdom rang, the songs of life from saxophone sang. A hunter's gaze, a thinker's mind, a man who stood for truth and right. A man of his word, a heart made of gold, a story of courage, humble and bold. A father, a friend, a beaten, a guide. Zdzislaw lives on in the love by his side. Though Tony's gone, their spirits embrace. In every memory, every face, his legacy rides on by the breeze. In grandkids' smiles, in swaying trees. A man of his word, a soul heaven bound, with laughter and love forever around. A builder of dreams, a light ever bright. Zdzislaw lives on in our hearts every night. Yes, Zdzislaw lives on in our hearts every night.
And the Polish national anthem.
Safety Wars is streaming now.
SafetyFM.com.
In an unpredictable world, one voice rises above the chaos. Meet Jim Polzel, a seasoned safety expert who's navigated through some of the most dangerous scenarios, from anthrax, explosive cleanups, disasters, and numerous environmental cleanups, and lived to tell the tale. Now he's bringing his wealth of knowledge, insights, and experiences to you through Safety Wars. From workplace hazards to the hidden dangers in your own home, Jim covers it all with his engaging storytelling. Safety Wars isn't just a podcast, it's your guide to a safer world. Join Jim Polzel and become part of the Safety Wars revolution. Available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts and videos. Safety Wars. Your safety is our mission.
So, I hate to keep, this is another, that's what we're talking about today, right? Hate to, have everything, this is meant to be I'm trying to build people up here. However, I would be entirely remiss if I don't mention Jane Goodall, who died today at 91. So your younger folks may not know who Jane Goodall is. I mean, believe it or not, I've seen a lot of women, maybe a few men too, dressed up as Jane Goodall for Halloween, because that's not to scare people, but to, in honor of her. Well, what was she? I talked to young people like, who's Jane Goodall? Who the hell is her? Who the hell was her? She was probably one of the greatest scientific minds of the 20th century. I rank her right up there with Einstein, Oppenheimer, Tesla, Marie Curie. You name the scientist, there was second to none with her. All right, that's my opinion. Here's the thing. She transferred the understanding of humankind. When I first saw her, again, I've been reading, National Geographic for my entire life. Unfortunately, my father's subscription just ended last month, right? So I had been reading his National Geographics right there. But here's one from the LA Times. Jane Goodall, the trailblazing naturalist whose intimate observations of chimpanzees in the African wild produced powerful insights that transformed basic conceptions of humankind. A tireless advocate for preserving chimpanzees' natural habitat, Jane Goodall died on Wednesday morning in California, natural causes. Goodall's discoveries as an ethologist revolutionized science. Protege of another famous anthropologist, Louis S.V. Leakey, Goodall made history in 1960 when she discovered that chimpanzees, humankind's closest living ancestors, made and used tools characteristics that scientists had long thought were exclusive to humans. Now, what I did was, my father sat me down in front of PBS. I remember we watched the documentary on PBS about her. And I tell you what, we were fascinated. I was especially fascinated to talk about this. I mean, this woman, she had more bravery than most of the men that I know. Going into the woods to observe chimpanzees. And believe me, it's not like they're all cheetah from Tarzan here, right? Well, cheetah is very gentle, but I mean, these are not, again, okay, they're our closest living relatives here in the DNA pool, but they're wild animals. They're the ultimate FAFO, community of animals. They're very dangerous. She was able to infiltrate them. Incredible. I found it fascinating. I still find it fascinating to understand the human condition, to understand what it means to be human, what it means to be animal, and realize that a lot of us, right, because we're made of the same stuff here. And to actually, and remember, this is before DNA analysis to come up with these theories that, no, we're closely related, we're this, we're more in common than not, and more stuff in common than, and everything that she did, with the behavior and everything, lit the imagination of a lot of people, including me, that moved into, got environmental degrees, were protecting the environment, protecting these animals, and everything else. So, and recording the attention to detail that she gave to her observations is something that we need to strive for. Right? And I'm going to say this, on a lot of issues, we were in disagreement, but guess what? With that, later in her life, she got a little bit involved in some stuff and everything. But respect, the ultimate respect for her, and also everything else that she respect, and I don't know, not enough nice things I could say of this. I wish we had more Jane Goodalls in the world. My question is this: who's going to be the next Jane Goodall? It could be you. It could be your children. Right? Build on her work. That's the best way you can do to honor her, is to build on her work with that. And it's always very sad when a gifted mind like this is no longer with us. That's all I have for tonight. So with that, and we will, God willing, see you tomorrow for Safety Wars and the Safety FM Network. This is Jim Posel.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.
You got into the safety business because you wanted to protect people, but somewhere along the way, the job started controlling your time, your schedule, your priorities, even your income potential. What if the expertise you've built over the years in the field can give you something more? More freedom, more control, more ownership of your future. I'm Sheldon Primus, the author of 7 Steps to Starting a Profitable Safety Consulting Business and the host of the Safety Consultant Podcast, with more than 350 episodes helping safety professionals become consultants and grow their career. Consulting changed my life. In fact, I'm a full-time RVer, and one consulting contract paid for my home I live in today. Now, I help safety professionals build their own consulting practice through bi-weekly coaching calls, accountability, and personal guidance. But this program isn't for everyone. Start with the Consultant Readiness Audit at sheldon.coach.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete signal transmission trilogy. now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all 3 books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.